All right, we'll call the meeting to order. The meeting has been noticed to Evans Print and Media Group, WCOW Radio, Magnum Radio, La Crosse Tribune, Sparta City Hall, and Sparta Free Library. Mr. Russ, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there's not. However, I'd like to save a commendation possibly for a report, for the student report as well. We might do a commendation during the student report.
All right, you just let me know when, yeah.
Will do.
Sounds good. All right, with no other changes, I'd request a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Burns Gilbert. Do I have a second? A second from Mrs. Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. All right, if everyone would please stand and face the flag for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Mr. Russ, if you could remind us of our Sparta Area School District mission statement, please.
Yes, our mission statement is to educate all students academically, emotionally, and socially to inspire curiosity and resilience.
And with that, we'll move to commendations. Mr. Russ.
First up, I'd like to invite Macy Oswald and Jean Corper. We wanted to give and recognize Jean and Macy for their volunteer work at Herman Elementary. These two individuals have put countless hours of volunteering on their own time, obviously the definition of volunteering, but with smiles on their faces. So we wanted to bring forth volunteers who've given many hours of service to our district over the years, and Macy and Jean's name came to the top at this time. So we wanted to bring Jean and Macy to you for a commendation. Any comments or anything? I told Macy she had to keep it under 3 minutes. You want to say anything? You don't have to. No.
Just that I enjoy it and I'm happy to be in the classroom.
Well, we're very happy that you're happy to be in the classroom. So we wish you nothing but the best, Macy, especially as you go to Winona State for social work, correct? All right. Congratulations, guys, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jean and Macy. Mr. Russ, go ahead.
I'd like to invite Mr. Follendorf up for the next commendation.
Hello, everyone. I am Mr. Follendorf, the ag teacher at the high school. Recently, we put on an ag day at Herman Elementary, and Jaden has a few things he wanted to say about that.
So Ag Day, for those of you that don't know, is when the Sparta FA goes to Herman Elementary and we teach all grades 1 through 4 about agriculture. So we had roughly 50 to 60 FFA members teach classes, and we taught 670 students all in one day. The weather didn't cooperate the best, but we made it through. And it was a great day to show all the kids all about agriculture and let them see all kinds of animals.
So Jaden, what he did is he actually coordinated pretty much this whole entire thing. I humbly have got to pass the credit off to him because what he did is he took all the time to communicate with the teachers at Herman Elementary, get them on board, and also communicating with our FFA members, getting them ready to go. He even went down to lesson planning for all 19 different stations, wrote lesson plans for these groups. And keep in mind, he's only a high school senior. So, but Jaden Lietzow, congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Jaden. Thank you, Mr. Follendorf. Mr. Russ, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to welcome to the stage area Laura Cole, Joan Hutchins, Amy Shanehofer, and Cindy Tessing, please. This month, we've been honoring our retirees of the Sparta Area School District, and I'm happy to bring Cindy, Amy, Laura, and Joan to you tonight with their many years of service. Cindy and I came in during at the same year, and I asked her if I could go with her, and she said no. But Cindy, would you like to say a few words at all? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Hello, everyone. It's with pleasure that I tell you I walked across the Sparta High School stage 46 years ago in May. I got to walk across stage and shake my dad's hand as he was president of the school board. Education was very important to my parents. My career over 46 years has been wonderful, impacting the lives of college, university students through pre-K 12. The nutritional needs of students is very important, and they are our future. So thank you for allowing me to do my job. Thank you for everything that you've done for the nutrition team, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Next, Amy Shanehofer. Would you like to say a few words, Amy, or no? Not really. Well, many years of being a secretary with many hats, and we wish her nothing but the best. Congratulations, Amy. Lori, would you like to say a few words? Oh, okay.
There are 8 children in my family. My father was the first member of his family to ever graduate from college. My mother's biggest pride is that all of her children graduated from college. And she would be amazed that I made it 40 years in this business, but I think that's enough. So it's been a pleasure to work here in Sparta.
And Joan Hutchins. Joan has been the nutrition service lead at SHS. And after I left, she said she could only take it one more year, I guess. So Joan, would you like to say a few words?
I was honored to have these two people right here work with me so closely, and then Amy too, but I bought Sam an apron too, actually, when he was helping me serve. I think he still has it. Thank you.
And I wanted to recognize Dawn Schmidt. Dawn was planning on attending tonight, but just couldn't make it. She's spent many years as an educational assistant in our district. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Let's give all the retirees one more round of applause.
That is amazing. Thank you so much to the 5 of you. All right, moving forward to public input, we're going to start with Michelle Glant for SEA comments. I think everybody that's set up here is aware. So there's 2 minutes. Mr. Russ will keep the 2-minute timer, and good luck stopping these individuals, Mr. Russ. So no, that's
you please push the button so it's green, and we just ask you to speak into it because we're recording live.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Glant, and I am a teacher at Sparta High School and the SEA president. I'm here tonight to speak to you about the big question of how we can improve teacher attraction and retention at Sparta. I know that this school board is very supportive of the work that the teachers of this district are doing. I also understand that the board has to be financially responsible to the community. This puts the board in a tight spot when our legislature has refused to financially support our public schools for the past decade. This leaves the board with the responsibility to convince our community to financially support and increase for the operational costs of this district, which includes teachers' salaries. Unfortunately, that has not yet happened. Nevertheless, the SEA requests that you reconsider your final offer, and increase your proposed CPI offer from the 4.45 up to a 5.75. If we want to have quality education in Sparta, that starts with having quality faculty. This year, there were unfilled positions and underqualified people hired for positions that have become hard to fill. Here are some reasons why the teacher candidates might not be seeking our district. Last year, we eliminated several elementary teaching positions by closing Cataract and moving kids to Herman. Additionally, we eliminated the middle school EDGE program positions and moved these students to the regular ed classrooms and added our most vulnerable students to the regular ed classroom. And we overburdened teachers. Many of our other students have also had an increase in their SEL needs, which in turn the classroom teacher then needs time to accommodate. Then this year, we again reduced another 6 teaching positions, including 3 more middle school positions. We are in the midst of a mental health and student behavior crisis, and Sparta is decreasing teachers and increasing our workload while student needs are currently increasing. Meanwhile, at the high school, instead of having kids in classes, learning and giving their best effort, many students are in a 90-minute or even 120 minutes of study hall in their schedule. How does this put students first? Our study halls are anything but a learning environment. We have such an absurd number of students in our study halls, and in some hours, over 100 students. That is a discipline nightmare in a 90-minute block, and we have many students roaming the building daily and causing a myriad of problems. Do you want me to pass it, or do you want me to finish?
So let's go ahead and pass it. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Miss Wissink, you're up.
Okay, this isn't made for short people. Okay. Therefore, we are reducing the 2 aide positions who currently oversee the study halls. Now teachers are being asked to replace them during our prep period. This eliminates 10 of our 45-minute preparation periods per month and adds to our workload a total of 450 more minutes per month of contact hours with students. As an example, this means she will have to do her work after school, and after already staying after school 4 out of 5 days a week, almost every week this entire school year, or at least 1 hour or more. Should anyone really have to stay even longer now to keep up with their workload? Should teachers really have to work another 4,500 minutes next year or an extra 10 days just to get offered the $1,851 cost of living increase we deserve without having to work more hours? This does not even include the additional 15 to 20 preparation periods we lost to subbing this past year at another 900 minutes or 2 work days that also went unpaid this year. Or the significant burden that outweighs compensation to the elementary teachers who have to take into their classroom the students of absent teachers in their grade level. Or the proposed elimination of their first snow day being forgiven. Nor does it include the proposed 10 hours of faculty meetings that we will now have to attend for free next year instead of getting ACM pay that has been in the past. All told, administration has unilaterally increased our workload by 6,450 minutes or 108 hours or 14.5 days, which totals 3 weeks of additional work. So what has been done in this these numerous positions were eliminated? All of their work was shifted to those of us who remain here. And then the money you saved by doing this is called our inflationary increase. In reality, this proposed increase would actually mean that you are paying us a scant $18 per hour for the increases in workload hours alone. Oh, sorry, I'm going to finish the sentence. And therefore, we are receiving 0 inflation increase on our current salary.
Thank you so much, Miss Wissink. Ms. Milne, go ahead.
Good evening. I am Kimberly Milne. I have taught in the district for 29 years. I am currently a reading specialist interventionist at Herman. So I just want to recap. The administration has increased our workload hours and class sizes amid a mental health crisis. We are dealing with a failure list that is higher than previous years, an abundance of discipline issues, too numerous to count, and skyrocketing truancy rates, all which make teaching incredibly difficult, helping more students more difficult, and reaching out to more families necessary on a regular basis. Amid all of this, some administration will have significantly decreasing workload by at least 1/3 or more by adding 2 new administrative positions. One would think that if the administration is taking teachers to work longer and harder for less money, they would do the same. Instead of spending the $300,000 it costs for 2 additional administrators, we could have used the money to pay the teachers an additional $300,000 toward our CPI instead. Especially in the light of the huge increases to our teaching workload that the administration has unilaterally instituted. It is really no wonder why the morale is so incredibly low, and teachers are exhausted and frustrated with the profession and with this school district. I can't believe I'm saying that after 29 years, but I am. The proposed increase of 4.45% on the base wage, which is not even our actual salary, is only a 3.5% of the current average teacher salary here in Sparta. This is unacceptable. Our district can do better. The district administration continually
Ms.
asks.
Milne, just one moment, just one sec. Mr. Resser, I'm going to let her finish. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead.
Schulze. I greatly appreciate you. The district administration continually asks what they can do to attract and retain teachers here, which is a significant problem here in Sparta. Decisions like increasing our workload, changing our health insurance, dropping our established providers, increasing our copay, increasing our out-of-pocket expenses, as well as increasing our premium by 10%, and then imposing a 3.5% CPI on the average teacher salary when CPI is at 8%. This is what is causing the attraction and retention problems and brings us only further away from ever resolving them. In light of all of this, we hope that you will please reconsider and increase your current offer to our proposed 5.75% CPI on the base, which is still only a 4.6% of the current average salary. We have to do better here in Sparta. We all would welcome any conversation with any of you board members at any time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the 3 of you for that. All right, we also have Ms. Carol Olson here. Carol, there we are. Okay. And it's 2 minutes unless you've got a written speech for us.
Oh, you just.
Did I just say that?
Okay,
thank
can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, first of all, way to go, ladies. Second of all, those of you that don't know me, I'm Carol Olson. I'm a retired teacher from Sparta High School. As I sat and listened to these ladies share, that's why I'm here. I have no cards in the playing field anymore. But I live here. I have grandchildren that will go to school here. If things continue the way they are, maybe not. That's just a fact, Jack. Okay. I don't know how to say this any differently, but from pre-K all the way to the high school, we have discipline issues. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, at administrations, at teachers, but it is reality. So with the reality of the overload that you're asking these teachers to do, that's nothing compared to what they go through daily with these young people who do have mental health issues. I think you have to take that into account. I have a daughter-in-law that told me today, she's taught here 10 years. I about flipped. You're kidding me. And I can tell you in the last 4 years, she does not come home with a smile on her face. If you don't think that's a travesty, then you shouldn't be on the board because it's a travesty. She loves children and she loves to teach, but somehow the love and joy has left her. And a pay raise? Oh my God, that would be fabulous. This isn't a pay raise, people. And I realize school is a business. I get it. We own a business, but I don't think they're asking for the moon. Not for all they do. And if we want to talk about teacher turnover, let me tell you this. We have turnover rate because they don't feel appreciated. And second of all, we don't even have enough people to help these young people. They come in green, right? They're happy. They want to teach, but they don't have time to get help from anybody else. Not fair to the veteran teachers, not fair to our newbies. Please consider it, okay? Again, I'm retired. It's a great profession, but it isn't anymore in Sparta.
Thanks so much for that, Carol. All right, with that, we will move to reports, and we're going to start with the item 2A, Sparta High School Student Report from Miss Irene Cho.
I'm more nervous than I thought I'd be.
Oh, don't be at all. You're just fine. No problem.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Irene Cho, and I'm here today on behalf of Sparta High School student body. Firstly, I'd like to thank Superintendent Russ for asking me to present today. His support throughout these past 4 years has done more than I can express for both me as a student and as a young adult. I believe something that has always defined our high school is our ability to come together. From pep rallies to dodgeball tournaments, there truly is no student body with as much spirit and pride than our very own Sparta Spartans. It is my belief that this stems from the close-knit nature of our school and our town as a whole, and this year could not be a more clear example of that. When I spoke to Mr. Ford last week in preparation for standing in front of you tonight, we kept circling back to a central theme. He described this year as a year of support, and I could not agree more. As individuals, many of our students now face challenges no one our age should have to battle. We've been robbed of some of our most talented and compassionate students our school's ever had. But our students have shown the strength of our support for one another. Thanks to our extracurriculars and advisors, we have been able to have many successful donation drives and raise several $1,000s in support of the affected students and their families, as well as honor some of our late students through the high school's biggest events. In my entire high school career, I can easily say that our student body completely exemplified the Spartan way this year. To the underclassmen, I hope this year showed that all of us are capable of help and that the intent behind it is just as meaningful as the impact. And to the upperclassmen, I hope that we can continue to set an example for everyone else in the building as agents of change. To close, I'd like to thank all the staff members at the high school who helped me put together this speech, and I'd like to thank you, the board, for allowing me to present to you tonight. Truly, thank you.
Irene, you rocked that. That wasn't bad at all.
I was shaking.
Oh, you were good. Do I have any questions or comments from board members? I want to give everybody an opportunity if they had anything to say. I just want to say thank you for everything and thank you for being a leader in the district. That's phenomenal. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And as a small thank you for coming here and giving the student reports, we'd like to have you given a commendation for recognition for acting as the SHS student rep this year. It takes a lot of courage to come up here and speak in front of the school board and everybody else. So thank you very much, Irene. Really appreciate it. And after you graduate, I'm not sure what are your plans after you graduate?
I intend to become a child psychiatrist.
Not yet.
Not yet. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll have Miss Angie Frost for the SASD Health Services Report, please. And if you just want to make sure that there's a green light We're good to go.
It's green and I'm kind of short. Okay. This one. Okay. Oh, perfect. They gave me power. So I thank you for the opportunity to come here and present to you. So earlier this month in May was also Nurses Week. And May 10th was School Nurses Day. So it's kind of neat to have our own day. House services, let's see. So who are we? We are a team that's part of student services. It's overseen by Lisa Moland. And then led by myself as the district nurse. And then the hands and the feet are in the health offices of each school. They're my district health aides. So I cover the whole school district, and my primary location is at the high school where my office is. This is my 5th year in the district, and I have 16 years total of nursing experience and 19 in healthcare. So I do have one health aide with me tonight, Sandy Foster. She's my right-hand lady at the high school, and this is her 6th year at in the health office. And then we have Jenny Arnold. She's at Southside with pre-K and kindergarten, and this is her 5th year. Jessica Middleton is at Montessori, and this is her 2nd year in the health office. At Meadowview here, we have Miranda Schaller and Cassie Huntington just joined us this year. Miranda is in her 3rd year with us. And at Herman, we have Hannah Bray and Kristen Schendel. Hannah joined us 4 school years ago, and this is Kristen's 1st full school year because we hired her at the end of last school year. So just a glimpse of our work in the district. There's a whole bunch of different numbers up here. We have 12 diabetics. There's 107 students with food allergies, 33 students affected with vision and hearing, 34 students with epilepsy, 22 that have cardiac concerns, and you can see, but overall, there are 675 students with a known medical aspect. So how busy are we? I looked back at our office visit reports, and this is as of the beginning of May. You can see that most of the schools are in the thousands for health office visits. We have a grand total throughout all of our schools of 14,820 office visits. And this doesn't include kids that come in with daily schedule medications or the quick kids that come in and just need a Band-Aid or an ice pack while there's a line of students waiting for other things. And top reasons for students coming in were headaches and stomach aches, which I'll put a plug in for the mental health concerns within the school, because those are physical symptoms of mental health concerns, temp checks, and then our diabetic checks. This just gives you a picture of all the different avenues that school nursing can be involved in, from physical education, health class, working with the school counselors and the psychs, nutrition services, teachers, family engagement. There's a whole tons of components to that. And then real quick, just a little snippet about 5 ways that school nurses benefit schools. Healthy kids are healthy learners, so it can help increase attendance. Academics, healthy learners pull out good grades, and they're ready to learn and in the classrooms. Time, a school nurse in every building that saves principals an hour a day, teachers at least 20 minutes a day, and clerical staff, who are also my right-hand ladies, almost 45 minutes a day. We can help contribute to staff wellness and accountability for students being in school.
And that's my last slide. So tough enough to be a school nurse and crazy enough to love it. I think I had a bigger presentation put together, which I think Mr. Russ put on board docs, so you can peruse that and get a little bit more information about what I do. So thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Everybody good? Great. Item 2C, Mr. Skylar Erickson. Cammy, are you coming up too? And Ms. Tammy Schneider. Oh, okay.
Hello, I'm Skylar Erickson. I direct the musicals at the high school as well as help direct the show choir. So I'm here to give our end of the year theater report. All right, so we just finished up Little Shop of Horrors. In April, we had 3 days, but we did 4 shows within those 3 days. It was a huge success, which I'm going to talk about here. So in just those 3 days, we sold over 1,600 tickets. We also did a survey too, which we'll have more information on later, just about coming from people who are resident here or people who are not residents. So we have a whole thing about that as well. We were nominated for numerous Jerry Awards and also won some Jerry Awards too for the show. This is the first show that's actually been done in the spring since before COVID. So there hasn't been anything since then. And so we wanted to go the musical route just because musicals do a little bit better. And this really showed and proved that musical was very successful to do in the spring rather than just the play, as it does attract more audience. Students, especially for this one, learned how important being a crew member is because they did win Outstanding Stage Crew. So the judges noticed everything that they did behind the scenes, and that's definitely something we encourage the students, that you don't have to be on the stage to be recognized. And that was really proven with this show, which is awesome. Students really learned management skills, and for this show, especially between all the music events, show choir, solo ensembles, state, keeping up their grades, especially, we always make sure that that's number one and very important. So they learned some great skills. And then even throughout this show, when the show was finished or during the process, I had 8 families that had reached out to me personally that their kids want to go to Sparta just because of the theater program, which is showing that we're doing really great things here in the theater world. And I can tell you that we do not do theater like other people do in our area. I've been to Holman, I've been to Cashton, I've been to Toma in the past couple of weeks with their shows. We are high quality. We are definitely running more of a performing arts high school with our shows. Even when the kids went to New York, they were showing their waitress at the Broadway show there, the set for Little Shop, and they asked if we are a performing arts high school. And their answer was, we will be. But also to go back to the jury awards, we have been involved with the jury awards since 2018 and have been very successful even since then. It just may not have been as recognized as we are now. So you can see when we did Cinderella, which was my second show that I directed here, all of the nominations that we were nominated for, as well as winning Outstanding Musical Direction, and Michael Kirpin, our Spirit Award winner. Then we did Mamma Mia. We were nominated for all those. Outstanding Lead Performance, Bethany Bierke won for that. Unfortunately, it was COVID at that time, so she did not get to go to the Overture Center stage. She had to do a Zoom call instead, but still put everything for it and got her award, which is great. Of course, there was Shrek and all of the things that we won there. Addams Family, everything, which was this year that we were nominated for. Definitely the most. We were nominated for every single award that they had. And then, of course, we won all of those awards, including Outstanding Musical, which is really #1 in the book. That is the goal. I just got the sheet today that said there was actually 105 schools that participated. And so we are one of the 15 schools that won for Outstanding Musical, which is really incredible, out of 105 schools. So they will be, our students will be performing June 11th at the Overture Center stage at 6:30 p.m. There will be a live stream on PBS as well. So please look out for them, as well as Jenna Martin will also be performing in a separate group for her lead performance as Morticia Adams, as well as Bree Winkerink and Joshua Smith in the Outstanding Performing Support Performance as well. So they'll have their own separate, as well as all of our Spirit Award winners too. Those were our little shop outstanding nominations. So outstanding musical, outstanding direction, ensemble, set design, lighting design, sound design, costume, stage crew, including the performers there. We won outstanding stage crew, outstanding performance, Joshua Smith, also our Spirit Award winners there too. So as you can see, we definitely are creating something very special here at Sparta. And like I said, the quality that we are doing is by far anything that most people are doing. But again, we are also putting in 450 over 500 hours into our productions alone, just to make sure that we can do the best for our students. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Erickson, Ms. Schneider. Did any board members have questions or comments for that one? I just want to make sure I give everybody the opportunity. Mr. McKenna, go ahead.
I do.
Yeah, don't run away.
Not so much a question as a comment. This is not a world I live in. Give me a bag of sunflower seeds and a bleacher. I'm thrilled. I'll sit there all day. A dark auditorium crowded on a Sunday, not my thing. That doesn't mean I'm not smart enough to recognize excellence.
Thank you.
And what you're doing with this program is excellent.
Thank you.
You're engaging kids. You're creating a team. You're creating a winning atmosphere. It's absolutely phenomenal. What you're doing with this program is something that a lot of other programs that are in our district could learn from, and I hope they do. Thank you for all your hard work,
Absolutely.
Sailor.
And even with Newsies this year, we now have a total of 44 cast members, and we just had a couple more crew, 18 crew. So we have 62 involved in the fall musical. So, which is really great.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson.
Yes,
Yeah, Mrs. Lopez, just wait.
I just
Go
have
ahead.
one word.
Yeah,
Out-
of course.
Well, no, I don't know. I can't count. Outstanding, and you deserve a standing ovation.
Thank you.
Thank you. You, the kids. the
Thank you.
staff, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, keep them coming now. No,
Anything else or? All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for that.
Thank you.
Skylar. Have a great night. All right, with that, item 2D, Sparta High School co-curricular budget report, Mr. Blaha.
Good evening. I was asked to share generally what the co-curricular budget is made up of, so briefly, you probably can't see that on the screen, but here's a general breakdown of what the co-curricular budget looks like. About 34% of it is pupil transportation contracted. And the next biggest part is personnel services. And I had a specific question. What does personnel services mean? So for us, that's referees, any service that we have someone else provide. So our co-op programs for hockey, our athletic trainer, helmet reconditioning services. There's a lot of other smaller services. So those are the two biggest ones. And then you can see the breakdown as we go through the rest of those. Questions before we look at the specific numbers with these? So what do those numbers look like? So when totaled up of a budget projected this year around 208,000, about 98% of it has already been executed. Don't worry, all of it will be executed. But that kind of gives you the finite breakdown of each of those. Pending your questions.
I just have one question.
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Blaha.
yeah.
Apparel is 6,243. Did we purchase uniforms this year, or is that some other type of apparel?
So it is. So uniforms, probably we had about 30,000 uniforms, but most of those were donated. So we did buy boys tennis. We do buy some replacements. So gymnastics, their numbers went up, so they needed a couple. Sometimes it's just as simple as socks or any clothing item, but we did buy a couple sets of uniforms. Boys tennis was probably the biggest.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Further questions or comments from board members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, Mr. Russ, we will do the Sparta Area School District Facility Assessment Report.
Well, we're here tonight to begin our first, just a brief overview of our facility assessment. I just want to set the stage a little bit. Back in February, we contracted with Bray Architects and Market and Johnson to continue this route of facility assessment and master planning. This is not the final product. Clint Selly is going to go through some information with the presentation about where we're at, but leading up to this, we've had a lot of stakeholder engagement. We've had some staff engagement. We've invited staff to come in and speak with us. We've had staff surveys. We've had some community outreach. We had Soup with the Soup, which we had quite a few people there, and we had a tour of SHS, and we had quite a few community members there, and we had a roundtable dialogue. More surveys. We surveyed the students, we surveyed the families, we surveyed the community. So a lot of groundwork that's laying before we start to really get into the final product. Every other week, we also meet with Bray and Market and Johnson to come up with updates, to talk about some things, where we're at with the progress. And in a little bit, Clint's going to tell us a little bit about his findings about what we're going to move forward. Our tonight's goal is just to give you an update on our progress as we plan for the next steps. There's going to be a timeline up there, but we're looking at July to give our final report to the board. But this is just an initial. We're going to highlight the auditorium tonight because we're going to make there's an action item tonight that may be taking place about the auditorium. So we're going to highlight the auditorium specifically, but really nowhere else. Tonight, I want to be clear what's tonight is not. You will not see any conceptual designs tonight. Okay, so we will not say, hey, we can do all this, we can do all this. We won't hear costs. If we want to add this, if we want to add that, that's not what we're doing here tonight. We're here to give you an update about our progress and just to fill in the board and the community about where we're at. So with that, Clint.
All right, good evening. I'm Clint Selly with Bray Architects. Craig is also here with me from Market and Johnson, and Jason's gonna step out in a little bit. He has another appointment from Market and Johnson. So really pleased and excited to be part of this process with the district. Bray in particular and Market as well do a lot of work throughout the K-12 market, throughout the state. Really kind of a passion and really felt the passion here tonight and understand how important schools are to their communities. Just so I have a reference, because some of the stuff I show is probably going to be very small up there. I see some of you looking up and some are looking. Okay. Is it really big though? Okay. All right. So a preliminary timeline right now. So again, in the interest of being really big, I hope this, but just kind of want to just show the process that we have laid out from, is that working or not? Yep. Anyway, the project from when we were brought on in February, basically this takes us through the fall, and the plan for the fall would really be to prep for a community survey to go out. So we kind of started with that as our target for a community survey. I believe School Perceptions has provided a proposal to the district. I'm not sure if you guys have reviewed. I believe they've approved it or. Okay. But basically kind of working backwards in the schedule there. So again, kind of just highlighting this, we're really kind of working under sort of two timelines or tasks happening at the same time. Again, as Sam mentioned, one of them being the facility study, where we're kind of looking at the state of the existing building. And then the other timeline we're kind of working with is the as some option and solution exploration. So those two things are kind of happening at the same time. That's pretty common. And then again, with the goal, we kind of bring that all together for you in July. And then from July into the fall, we will again work with School Perceptions to build that survey document. So I guess survey. So one of the things we like to do very early in the process is to get some feedback from your staff. It's really critical that they have a sense of what's going on. But also we have to kind of balance they tend to be very detail oriented, and we usually, the most common things we hear is my room is too hot or too cold. My room is too small and I don't have enough storage. So we want to know those. Those are really critical things. But the other things we want to hear is I'm an art teacher and it would really benefit me if I was closer to tech ed because we like to use the saws or as an example, or I'm a special ed teacher. I'm at the end of the hallway. I'm not near my kids. It'd be great if I could be in more of a central location where I'm serving my students. So again, we want to get those detail oriented things, but we also want to understand the macro. So up on the screen are the 5 questions that we sent out to your staff. I'm not going to read them, but basically it's kind of what's working, what's not working, how can we improve? Are there extracurriculars you're not able to meet due to the facilities or conditions? And then are there what would you see as the prioritization of items within the district? We cataloged all the responses. I believe we got just north of 80 responses from your district. And I would say that's pretty good. In general, we're kind of seeing survey fatigue from a lot of staff members and people throughout, the state and country, because that's kind of what you're being hit with, even when you go get a cup of coffee. So again, applaud your staff and taking the time, because I think that was a pretty strong rate considering where we're at. Again, we cataloged all of the responses. We provided that as part of our biweekly meetings. And then our group just tried to highlight some of the ones we saw reoccurring. I do want to point out the again, kind of the nature of doing this is sometimes you get obviously a cohort of grade level teachers or a bigger group that kind of in numbers, their responses sort of, you keep seeing them over and over again, but we don't want to, again, lose sight to, I'm an art teacher and I teach art on a cart, or I teach music on a cart, those types of things. So again, we have to be careful and balance the things we're seeing as common versus some of the needs that might exist for only one staff member that might just be as critical as those en masse. So again, I'm not going to read through all of these again. Herman, starting with Herman, one of the newest buildings. Great building, just a couple of items that were brought up that could use some potential improvement or considerations. Again, Montessori, number of items within this building. I should mention, well, I will touch on this with the facility study, but when we see a lot of the, heating and cooling and stuff, again, the facility study, our engineers go through the buildings and log that. So it is important to get that feedback from the staff, and we'll have it kind of another lens to see through these. Meadowview Middle School, again, restroom updates, improvements to auditorium, a potential greenhouse. Playground updates, so forth. I should also say we did hold a couple of series of staff listening sessions, again, trying to relate to not everybody likes doing surveys. So we met one day at the high school auditorium, and then we also met out at Herman on another day as well. Again, south side, flooring, heating and cooling, technology. Then the high school, a large group here. The library is I'd say for the most part, when we went through these groups, we just asked if there was anything to add. The library was one that, again, the group felt we didn't have it located on. So again, this is kind of an evolving list that we're going through it, as well as, again, district-wide needs and goals for the buildings. So this draft facility report, just showing kind of three simple pages up here. I believe this will be posted on the board docs, kind of the draft that is available at this time. I will say it is very much a draft. So please know that there will be a lot of parts and pieces missing. But just wanted to give you a couple images up here, specifically kind of the middle image and the one on the right, just showing that the idea behind this document is it's hopefully very immersible for those that don't understand construction or buildings. There's a lot of graphics included in it, and just a simple scale of good, fair, poor as far as an assessment of things. So we like to think that, again, somebody with no knowledge of buildings can open the document, interact with it very well. But if you have someone like your buildings and grounds director who needs more information and wants to know what age the boilers are and what the specific recommendations for some things are, that detail is also included in it. So again, we hope it's a a document that benefits the community and district as a whole, as well as a planning tool into the future. And then finally, we just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the auditorium. We understand this is kind of an area of maybe some potential immediate investment. And again, great to hear about the amazing things happening there. There's kind of a gray box if you're not familiar where it is in the building. As this plan sits, north would be to the left. So the auditorium again is kind of on that north central part of the building. Again, internally, we've talked about some of the goals or potential needs for that facility. Again, updating the AV and lighting, which again, you're working through right now. Potentially looking to provide a orchestra pit as part of a renovation type project. Expand the seating. Again, great to hear the wonderful things. So let's get more people into these productions. Expanding the stage again, so they have more space and are able to continue to do great work. And then also expand what I'm calling the back of house space. So the dressing rooms and storage and set building type facilities that right now, again, they do a great job with the limited space they have, but truly it is limited space. So the first thing I'm just going to share again, Bray Architects and Market, we've both been extremely fortunate to do a lot of auditorium work throughout the state and been very fortunate to do a lot of renovation type work where, we would take a space that needs help and give it second life and create a really great new space. So as we look at the potential for an orchestra pit, there's a number of different ways we could go about it. In the traditional sense, and it's nice that we're sort of here, but in a traditional sense, an orchestra pit would be lowered a full floor level so that the performers are well below the stage. A conductor can be down there. There's kind of a sound panel in the front so the sound can emanate out into the audience. It's a great facility, but the challenge with it is you need two ways to get out of it. So two different stairs and then also accessibility. So basically a full elevator to access that pit. Trying to incorporate that in an existing building can be done, but it's a very, very significant project. There's, footings and foundations that would need to be re-supported and those types of things. So an approach that we've seen happen on a number of projects. This is just two examples. On the one on the left, you can see there's kind of a white line on the stage, and that actually represents where the pit is. The black cover there is a removable cover, so the pit exists below that. Similarly, the image on the right, you can see kind of the tan or wood wall in the front. The pit in that case is located right behind that. Both of those pits are kind of this similar style pit. Again, probably a little bit difficult to see. The image in the middle is kind of the one I want you to focus on. That's kind of a cut through the building. So you're sort of taking a slice through the building and looking at the result. What we do in this case is we try to recess the floor of the pit such that when the performers are in there and they're seated, their heads are not visible. Because if you can imagine right now, if we had a pit here, all of the heads would be visible and potentially distracting. So we want to have them up front, but we want to sink them down a little bit. So this is a strategy we've utilized on both new auditoriums and also specifically on renovation auditoriums as a way to kind of create a hybrid approach where we don't have the full pit, which again, from a cost and practicality of construction within an existing building is very difficult. The image on the right there is basically kind of that exact example where we had an all existing situation, and then we created that modified pit right out in front of the current stage with a good success. So again, it does have a cover that can be put there, so the stage still exists over the top of it when it's not in use. And then when it is in use, the cover comes off and the kids can go inside. The final, another item here is then the expanded seating. So again, my gray box is a little blurred here, but those familiar with the auditorium, there is a bathrooms on both sides and then a kind of a prominent stair that rises up the middle. And we believe that we can attain about 5 to 6 additional rows of seats if we expand the auditorium back into that space. We would likely also locate a new sound booth up in that area as well. So this is again, sorry about the detailed drawings here, may be difficult to see, but this is a recent project that we did that very same thing. This was, I mean, very, very similar to what we would talk about in this particular case. With the exception, I would say this was actually a more difficult project because not only did we expand back, but we actually had to raise the roof of the existing building to accommodate that existing seating getting tiered up. This was internal to a large high school, so a very challenging, difficult project to pull off. This is a picture of kind of showing how that final project looked. The other area then is just in improving the performance area and kind of the performer experience for the facility. So right now you have a stage depth that if we were to build a new auditorium, or it would probably be pretty similar to that. And then the width of the stages can be defined by the spaces on the side. There's storage and dressing rooms and so forth there. Again, very small, they're doing great work with very limited and small spaces. Our concept right now is that, again, the band and chorus spaces are also have some challenges and probably could use update or a relocation to somewhere else in the building. So our ideal is that would be perfectly suited as a back of house space where we would create dressing rooms, set construction, additional storage, and really free up the ability to expand the stage out into those side areas and really create a stage, again, that would be virtually identical to what we would do as an existing facility. Again, just showing a couple quick pictures. This was an auditorium that we fully updated and refurbished in Port Washington. This one is up in Denmark. This actually was a high school cafetorium that we turn into a dedicated auditorium space. Again, great results. You'd never know. If I showed you the before picture, you'd be pretty amazed. So again, I could show you pictures all day, but in the interest of being brief, that will cut it off there.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from board members at this time?
Yeah, I got one.
Go ahead, Mr. Wells.
So when we went back to the high school slides, well, just in general, are those numbers in any particular order? Like I know we had weight room, auditorium, whatnot. Are they in any particular order?
No,
or-
they were not. No, no.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments from board members? Thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mrs. Lopez.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Within the existing structure, is there availability to have all of those things, expanded seating, a choir pit or a chorus pit rather, and the extra back of house within our current framework, like within our current walls?
Yes, I think the provision there is then we have to move the choir and band. So whether we build that new as an addition or whether we find some space within the high school that can accommodate that. But yeah, sorry, I'll move back out.
So these didn't give us this option or that option. I mean, I know we're not getting options tonight, but
Sure.
this wasn't a visual of you could have this or this or this within the framework that we have now. We could potentially have all.
Yeah, we believe we can accomplish all of those goals within the framework you have.
I think this is showing the potential for an opportunity at, maybe an upcoming facilities referendum that we should continue to talk about. So.
Yep, and I did have a meeting with Main Stage. We have a great relationship with them, do a lot of work, understand you guys have spoken to them. And so we kind of, talked over some of the challenges here, what their involvement in the district was. And again, I think both sides feel the existing space has a lot of potential to, again, have that kind of second life, allow for expansion, allow for some of these additional amenities to be added within the current structure.
Any further questions or comments from board members? Thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Craig, you didn't have anything to say? Craig was just here to look good or what? Good guy. All right. All right. Item 3, consent agenda. I'd ask all board members to take a look, review the items on the consent agenda, and then at that time, entertain a motion to accept. Real quick, Mrs. Lopez, did you have Article 603 questions answered that you were looking for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Burns Gilbert. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second from Mr. Wells. Roll call.
Mr. Shelby,
Yes.
Mr. McKenna,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, one absent with Mr. Hendricks. Item 4A, discussion and possible action to move forward with renovations to the Sparta High School auditorium. Mr. Russ.
All right. Once again, I want to thank Bray and Market and Johnson for helping us through this process. It's very important. I just want to highlight a couple things from that facility assessment. I know Mr. Schulze said if, a possible facility referendum, if we start to do some certain things, for instance, relocate orchestra, pit orchestra, blowing out that back wall, we would not have enough in our traditional budget as of right now. We would not have that option. So I just want to add that as well. So a referendum would need to happen. So some auditorium updates in the past. This is the same slide that was brought to us back in April, about a month and a half ago. At the time, the board decided to wait until the facility assessment process was going forward. And now is the time I think we can start making some opportunities or making some decisions if the board wishes to move forward. Just to review, the total cost of new audio, visual, video, curtains and wiring would be about $480,000. We do have this budgeted in Fund 46, if that's the will of the board, if they wanted to go that way. And so through this facility process, talking with Bray and Market and Johnson, as long as we don't blow out that east-west wall and expand to the south or toward where the steps are, the renovation, the sunken cost would be very little, according to what we have found, about $7,000 only to rewire. So we know a lot more information right now than we did back in the middle of April, which is I believe why the board said let's wait until this report. So we did have the report, and knowing that we talked to a lot of stakeholders, we've talked to, we have some ideas, nothing set in stone. But if it is going to be the administrative recommendation and my recommendation that we move forward with this project, and that doesn't pigeonhole the board either to say, hey, let's blow out that east wall and make it 1,000 seat. Because right now, if we blow out that back wall, 5 to 6 rows. So we're talking 100, maybe 100 seats and that sort of thing. So it doesn't pigeonhole you. It just, it narrows the focus potentially to say, okay, we're going to keep that current envelope. Okay. I just wanted to bring this slide back and say that it is my recommendation that we can move forward with this project, knowing more than we know now at that time.
All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion. We're going to discuss this, but I'll entertain a motion to move forward with the auditorium updates, not to exceed $480,000 for audio, visual, video, curtains, and wiring.
I'll make that motion paid for funds set aside in Fund 46.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. McKenna. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Mr. Burns Gilbert. Do I have any discussion on this topic?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Wells.
The additional seats, does that cover, because I think one of our main goals is to make sure that we can fit our entire student body. Is that feasible with the additional, as Bray put up?
They have not, that's too detailed right now, and that would be adding about 180 seats. And that, 5 or 6 rows, that probably wouldn't do that. If we have a pit orchestra, that means we're bringing out potential, once again, conceptually bringing out things to reduce that assessment. So I would say that probably would not hit. I don't have a number, 800, that I do not have. But right now it's at 650, I believe.
Further discussion or comments on this topic? Hearing none, roll call. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I guess
go
I
ahead,
do,
Mr.
I do have
McKenna.
one.
Yeah.
Simple, audio visual stuff makes sense. If we're looking at changing the size of the stage, does that impact the curtain at all?
We would have to make sure, I don't think so, because we could probably buy that curtain
I would ask,
and adjust and adjust at that time. Once again, if we start to move some walls and that sort of thing, we're talking 3-4 years down the road, we might be able to resell that curtain if needed. But we also have more information about what the possibility is. So we might be able to say, hey, this sound simple. Let's add 15 feet on each side so we know what we're doing there. So that could be a possibility as well.
and I would say, I've got Mr. Erickson and Ms. Schneider nodding. Can you come to the mic just for a sec? I mean, we have you here. We might as well utilize it.
We should bring it.
So as far as a curtain, I mean, is that something we need to discuss a little further, or what?
So if
What's
we
your
do
viewpoint?
expand the sides, that will affect the curtain. I mean, that's just
Okay.
how that works.
So we'd maybe look to have further discussion on that part of it.
Yeah.
So we could bring it back or if when we talk to main stage and do this, we have a conceptual idea.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know if we can add 15, 20, but that's why we work with main stage and that sort of thing.
But
All
then
right.
even that even if we did do the curtain, it could replace this one too. So there are
Oh,
ways to
sure.
do it, but
Hadn't even thought of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments?
Just a question.
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
Members, do we foresee us in the next 5 years expanding east and west? I mean, if we're having that, if that's brought up, do we want to?
So based on the information from Bray, and again, I wish they had stayed, but I think being able to expand back and up, there's potential to go ahead, Kim. Yeah.
It was taking out the dressing rooms and the storage would expand it that way. So it's not knocking out the walls like by the hallway. It's just making so it would be a little bit wider. So like sight lines would be a little bit wider. So.
yeah.
Were you talking about the east-west walls to,
Yeah.
I'm going to say 1,000-seat auditorium?
Yeah,
Or that's what you were talking
What I
about.
meant, yeah. 'cause
So
I
the
think-
east-west main walls.
Because I think our goal, and it would make it efficient on the teaching side or whatnot, we're promoting SEL and all these other things, and that could be very well done in the auditorium. So when it would be more efficient for everyone to have to have a good chunk of those events in the auditorium, and maybe having enough seats in there could be a possible.
Yeah, and I absolutely. And I would say what that is that's that further referendum discussion, right? When we look at a facilities referendum and the opportunities that we have as a district as a whole, that'll be a really important conversation topic to have.
When we had those discussions with Bray and Markin and Johnson, if you blow out one of those east and west walls, you're almost better off by building a new auditorium. It's that big of a to do. So, but once again, because the board says if they say yes to this, doesn't mean that future they can't blow out that east-west wall. But know that if they blow out that east-west wall, there's more cost to rewire and that sort of thing.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Margaret, roll call.
Mr. McKenna,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent with Mr. Hendricks. Thank you both very much for the time and effort in that. Item 4B, discussion and possible approval of an increase to the base wage for certified staff for the 23-24 school year.
All right. Just to back up for the negotiation process, back in the beginning of May, we exchanged proposals with the SEA. Had a very good, it was a quick meeting. I believe it was 7 minutes. The Board of Education proposed 4% to the base, which is the starting salary for a teacher with no experience and no education, and the top left of the salary scale. And the SEA, its initial proposal was 8% total to all the wages. We swapped proposals and then we met again on the 18th, last Thursday. We moved into closed session and the Board of Education proposed 4.45%. And the SEA countered that with a 7% to the base wage. we talked, we had, once again, a very good meeting. Our relationship is very strong. We wanted to make sure that that continues. And then both sides agreed that we were at impasse. So we came out of closed session. We announced that we were at impasse, and now the Board of Education has the decision to make to the base wage only in regards to that. You have some decisions. We can, the board can enact a base wage increase. And if the board decides to do that, my recommendation would be with the 4.45, given our budget and given the unknowns, or the board can increase that. They have every right to do that. Or the board can say, let's go to mediation. And then that process continues where we try to come to some agreement rather than an impasse. So really get rid of that impasse part. So it's really up to the board right now with the discussion and the decision that they move forward. And if there's any questions, please let us know. And Ms. Hauser and I will try to answer those the best we can for the budgetary impact.
At this time, any questions or comments from board members? Mr. McKenna, go ahead.
I hate this. The way the budget is set, the way that we're funded, it almost feels like we have a choice between numbers of positions or the amount that we pay the position. You can't do both. Heating, lights, gas and buses, they're set. You can't adjust it. Sorry. Yes. Is that better? Sorry. I'm thinking as I say things. All right. I feel like we either have a choice of numbers of positions or the amount that we pay the positions that we have. The other things, heat, lights, gas for buses are set fixed expenses that we can't make them go away. I think universally through multiple conversations I've had with people in closed session, through conversations I've had personally, phone calls, we all want to give you guys raises. We want to pay you more than we can afford to pay you. The timing of the state budget it's a disaster. I've never seen a business that has to function under a way that they set a budget before they know how much the budget is. That makes no sense. I believe that you guys deserve 8% CPI. I also believe that if we gave you 8% CPI, we have to lay off, not the right word. We have to reduce more positions. And that's going to make things harder on you. That makes this a really, really tough call. You're right. Everything you said, Michelle, was 100% on. We're in a mental health crisis. I don't want to reduce one position. The reason we went with the Dean of Students idea, which is an administrative position, was to take strain off of other administrations so that they could get in the classrooms, they could help teachers. They could take that green teacher like Carol had talked about it and train them up, get them more effective in the role. It's hard to say whether that's the right decision or not. We won't know until this time next year if that was effective or not. I didn't go into this wanting to give 4.45%. I think you guys deserve 8. We just haven't been able to figure out how to do it at this point.
One thing I also want to add, along with the 4.45% for the negotiations, the administration, we are planning in our budgetary process doing step and lane and adding a 32nd year. So the negotiation side is just for that base wage. However, we are planning our budgetary planning of step and lane and the 32nd year. So when you put that all in, it is a 6% total increase. So we are planning lane and step in the 32nd year.
Ms. Hauser, can you tell me what the budgetary impact is between 4.45 and 5.75%, please?
Approximately 130,000.
Mr. Burns Gilbert, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm torn on this too, because I think, I mean, we can't fix public education in Sparta, Wisconsin in one board meeting, right? You all should get, everyone at this district, I think should get what, 50 grand a year, 60 grand a year. Like that's where my head goes of how can we support our people? Because the reality is if whatever minimum wage type of stuff would have kept up, it'd be a lot closer to that for everybody anyway. But I think Mr. McKenna has hit the nail on the head to me. Like this is the issues that are pinching us on the top end are the issues that we're going to have to do this twice as much more next year when ESSER money drops off for, what is that, $2 million roughly. We've done a good job of trying to use that for things that aren't ongoing operations to lighten that load, but that cliff is coming. And the fact that we've been under a freeze for the last 2 years, and we've had what 10 years worth of Miss Hauser's video that she sent out was really helpful. I don't know if y'all watched that, but that was really helpful. Basically showing us how the legislation is, because we were spending wisely in 1993, we are currently pinched with what we're able to do now because of that formula. And for everyone listening to tomorrow, the Joint Finance Legislation Committee in Madison's having some hearings and getting some feedback. So like that's where these changes need to happen in order for our state to move forward and value education in the, top 10 in the country again, instead of what is it, 25th right now, we're roughly with some of the performances over the last 10 years. So I think those are issues that we can't solve tonight. But what was that total, Ms. Hauser? The 5.75?
It's about $130,000.
130,000.
5% would be $57,000.
Yeah. See, and that's, I come back to that too, of we were sitting on this stage, was it last month or the month before, talking about SEL, and we could have done we asked for 150,000 for that to explore options from universal curriculum to behavior coaches to intervention coaches to people to help with some of the behavior pieces. And knowing that we went with behavior coaches to then give more to this 4.5 offer, right? Like that's what we're doing right now. We're playing those games and it sucks. But I think knowing that piece, knowing that we tried to raise that rate to keep the people that haven't left in a better spot. And that's still, again, not enough, right? It won't be enough until, well, we'll get there eventually, hopefully in our lifetimes, right? But I think that's part of what I'm struggling with, of all of these cuts are coming at the same time that all of these costs are rising for the district from the healthcare perspective, from, right, the fixed costs are rising, right? The healthcare, the benefits, the staffing, those are things that will not go away or ever go down again, right? So once they're approved in the budget, the base wage in the top left cell versus if we're taking that to all positions, that means our budget, it balloons exponentially in a couple of years. And now we're doing things we also don't want to do with more cuts that we would set ourselves up for. So I think for me, I would definitely be open to that 5.75. I want to hear what other thoughts are, but I think that knowing hopefully the budget comes back favorably, like that's, again, that July release, I think is going to be a kicker. And I think as a board, we can revisit this at that point too, which is also why I would be okay with a 4.5, knowing that I would trust as a board, we would come back to this if we're able to give some more, because we have another, $7 billion surplus in our state right now, right? If we're able to give more recognition to the employees that have kept our students and our community afloat, especially over the last few years, right? I think we have that obligation to do it. But I think if we do that proactively before the budget comes back, then we might set us up for more issues down the road than we potentially want. I remember 2 years ago was the first budget cycle, and we did this, and I think we budgeted conservatively, and it still came back a little bit lower than what we thought and still had to make cuts. So if we go up again here and then that comes back in July, then we're going to just be back to doing this more cuts in August. So just trying to play out that timeline there. Yeah.
Further discussion or thoughts from board members? Mr. Wells, go ahead.
Yeah, so this decision is always difficult because, I mean, philosophically or even just emotionally, sitting in front with the SEA, I remember that a lot of them in front of me were my favorite teachers, right? And so that's what makes it difficult, that these are the people that are most passionate about what they're doing. They're just asking for what they believe that they deserve. But at the same time, progress is slow, right? It snowballs, and that's where we make the big changes that happen. And 4.65 is really big for, I don't know what other districts are doing, but it's probably a little bit more than districts that have used that ESSER money, and they're going to hit a really hard fiscal cliff, or they haven't made those substantial cuts the last few years. Even ones that have operating referendum in the book, they're sitting with tons of decisions and not necessarily on the forefront of the decisions that we're making now. Like we're literally giving more with less, and we're trying our best to do that because we believe in the teams and the emotional connections and everything that makes our students succeed, thrive, and grow possible. And so I'm just happy that we could sit here today and make those decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Any further discussion or comments from board members? Mrs. Lopez, go ahead.
I agree with the gentlemen who have spoken up here mostly. This is such a difficult decision because as I look out there and I see the level of education that most of you have received, it pains me to know how you're capped. That being said, we budgeted for a $100 per pupil increase, and we do not know what that state budget is going to come out. It might be 300, it might be 500, it might be 0. If we have an excess, regardless of how we vote today, we can look, I'm asking a question, we can look at increasing in some way compensation without binding the district to having that higher base, upper left base wage going forward in future years, as Mr. Burns Gilbert said. So that is correct. Is that not?
Absolutely.
That is correct.
Yes.
Of course, we have other needs that we also have to consider at that time too, but at the same time, again, I'm looking further into the agenda here tonight, and I'm looking at the amounts that we're spending on other things that are also very needed in the district, to maintain our facilities, to keep our students safe, to provide for the needs for all of our staff. It's a lot of money, and $130,000 doesn't seem like that much in comparison.
Any further discussion from board members? I just want to say, for me, this is an easy decision. I mean, again, just like you had said, I look out here, you are what make our district what it is. You are phenomenal educators, and we thank you for choosing Sparta Area School District. I think you deserve the 8. The way the budget was laid out, the amount of funds that we have, we felt 4.45 was the best we could do. Like we were really trying to do the best that we could for all of our educators. That said, 5.75%, that's $130,000 difference. It's not a $600,000, $700,000 difference. It's $130,000. We're about to look at tennis courts and resurfacing them for $78,000. And we're going to approve it because we approve. That's what we would have done. I'm okay holding off on tennis courts for a year if that means we're going to give our educators a raise right now. And so with that said, I would support Mr. Burns Gilbert in the 5.75. I think we can find the 130,000, you guys. Let's take care of our educators. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve an increase to the base wage for certified staff for the 23-24 school year at a rate of 5.75%.
I'd happily make that motion.
I have a motion from Mr. McKenna. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Whoa. I have a second. I'm going to give this one to Ms. Behrens. All right. Roll call. I'm sorry. Any further discussion on this topic? Roll call.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. McKenna,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent. Thank you to our educators for everything. Thank you for everything you do as educators, and I apologize for not getting you the 8, but thank you for being willing to negotiate back and forth and know this is in good faith from us. Okay, all right. Holy moly, I need a break. Whew. Okay. Item 4C, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a new dishwasher at Herman Elementary. Oh my goodness. All right, Mr. Russ.
I'll actually.
I'm
take
sorry,
this
Ms.
one.
Hauser.
Yeah. So our Herman Elementary dishwasher was new with the construction of the building. However, we've had a multitude of issues that we did discuss at the committee meeting. And it all boils down to, we believe we have a lemon to the point where we would not even resell it or auction it due to some safety potential concerns due to some of the issues we've already had to maintain. So with that, we are recommending replacing the machine with a different brand, a different model. This is what we have in another kitchen in our district and has been tried and true and very good quality. We did get 3 quotes from different vendors, but all for the same machine. So we would recommend going with the lowest bid of $51,789.50. We do have funds remaining in our Herman referendum budget, meaning from the referendum amount that was approved when we built the building. So there would be no general budget impact for this purchase. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from board members at this time?
Make a motion to approve the Herman Elementary, I missed it, dishwasher as proposed.
And to be used from referendum funds?
Yes, from referendum funds.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Burns Gilbert. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Second from Mr. Wells. Roll call.
Mr. McKenna,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte.
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent, and Mr. Hendricks. Item 4D, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a new maintenance van. Ms. Hauser.
Thank you. I've been working with our buildings and grounds team to analyze our fleets of vehicles and equipment. And in looking at our vehicle fleet, we had 3 vans that we do not believe that we need due to just based on the current needs within our district. We did put those on a surplus auction and are happy with the results that we received. Some of the vans we got over double what we were projecting. So we collected over 30,000 of revenue from those 3 vans that were really just sitting idle throughout our district. However, we do have a need in our buildings and grounds team for a different type of vehicle to facilitate basically a mobile maintenance workspace and be able to transport the type of equipment that we do between our buildings. And so we are asking if we could apply the approximately $30,000 of proceeds from the sale of the 3 decommissioned vans to purchase 1 new van for use of the buildings and grounds team. This would also free up 1 more van on that fleet that, based on our current sales prices, we'd probably get about another $10,000 for. So the net price would be somewhere in that $10,000 to $20,000 range to have 1 new vehicle that would meet our needs. At the committee meeting, we recommended the van from Rochester Ford. Unfortunately, that van is no longer available. So we're asking for, if you approve this, cost of not to exceed, I'm going to bump it up to $53,500 based on availability. Also, we had questions about extended warranties. This van's driven approximately 20-25 miles a day, but every single day during the work week, all within town. We probably don't need an extended warranty. Historically, we haven't done that. We do keep our vans on a very good maintenance schedule. But that's up to the board if you would like us to pursue that as well. Extended warranties are a couple $1,000.
Questions or comments from board members? Mr. McKenna, go ahead.
I have no idea who pays $10,000 for a 15-year-old cargo van, but I'm happy you found them. I see these next three agenda items kind of tying together in a way, in that they're all expenditures that we want, maybe not need. I would like to do them all, but I would like to prioritize them if we could. I think we talked at the committee of the whole meeting that the PA system, which is 2 agenda items from now, is the most important because of the safety concern around it. And then number 2 to me would be the tennis court, because of the savings it could offer in future years. And I mean, personally, number 3 to me is the van. We have the $30,000 in proceeds from the 3 vans. We still have a van that functions, not ideally, but it still works. So I would categorize this as my 3rd priority of the 3 things on the agenda.
Further discussion or comments from board members?
Weren't we selling?
Mr. Wells, go. Ms. Hauser, go ahead.
I was just going to say, would you like me to give a recap of all 3, but then you can vote in the order of the agenda? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that might.
Can we?
Mr. Russ, go ahead.
I think we need to take them one at a time, unfortunately, due to open meetings laws and stuff like that.
Sure.
All right, I think that would be the best to stay in the order that was adopted.
All right, with that, Mr. Wells, go ahead.
Didn't we sell one of these vans or desired to sell one of them because we were planning on making a purchase? Or is that wrong?
So we had 4 vans we desired to sell and get 1 new one. We only sold 3 because we didn't want to assume this would get approved. So we have enough number of vehicles. The type isn't necessarily ideal, but we do have enough number of vehicles.
And I guess my big question is there any reason that we need to approve this today as compared to August, when we know what our budget is? What our state budget is? Okay.
So is this a safety concern right now? Yes and no. Is it safety to the students? No. Is it safety to our maintenance staff? Yes, because they're crawling on their hands and knees. They're trying to get this. This allows our maintenance staff to be safer to do that. So with that being said, that's, so you start to prioritize, if you want to prioritize student safety and injuries and that sort of thing. We're looking at 1 to 3 people using this van, but they use it quite extensively.
But would they want that 50,000 to go towards number K later on the agenda? Number K, letter K.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
That's what I'm struggling with too, right?
I don't know that, but from the workman's comp side, if we have a workman's comp, that could cost us quite a bit too in long range plans, but that's a what if scenario.
Thanks. So at this time, do I have a motion to approve the purchase of a new maintenance van at this time? Hearing no motion, we'll move on to item 4E. Item 4E, discussion and possible action to approve resurfacing of Meadowview's tennis courts. Ms. Hauser.
All right. So for the tennis courts, we went through a process approximately 5 years ago to attempt to extend the life versus a total replacement. At the time, we believe that would get us approximately 3 to 4 additional years. We have been able to make it 5. The risk we run of pushing this off more years into the future is that the solution would no longer work. And we would have to do a total replacement, which would run much more. So in essence, what this is doing is, and I'm going to simplify it, but taping the cracks and, redoing the paint and the top coating. There is only one company that is widely used by school districts for this purpose. There used to be more, but they've discontinued this service. This is the same company we used 5 years ago with good results. So this is who we would recommend going with.
And the current, if we did need to replace totally 7 new courts, would be at today's price, 400 to 450,000.
Discussions or questions from board members at this time? Mr. Burns Gilbert. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw your hand on the button. So he looks okay. He's good. All right. Now my feeling on this, when Mr. Russ and I spoke about this, I was against it. I had just gone to a tennis match, spoke with a parent from Holman, and they said, wow, your tennis courts are phenomenal. Ours are really in rough shape. And I was like, oh, all right, this is great to hear. And then it came up as an agenda item. And I saw Sam and I went back and forth about, Mr. Russ and I went back and forth about it. And the goal is to keep it that way, to keep it good, to keep it in proper condition, and to not let it fall apart. So I did change my thought process on this, and I would be in favor of this, because if we wait, it can turn into a much, much larger expense. And $74,000 is a lot of money, but it's a lot more money if we start letting our facilities fall apart. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the resurfacing of Meadowview's tennis courts.
I'll make that motion to approve the surfacing for Meadowview's tennis courts as written.
All right, I have that motion from Mr. Wells. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Burns Gilbert. Any further discussion on this? Go ahead, Mrs. Lopez.
The way I look at this is that we have this is supporting the kids as well. This is supporting those co-curricular activities. I believe, is Mrs. Russ still the tennis coach for girls?
For the women's side, yes.
Yes. And we have a thriving program there. When my son was in high school, I think there were maybe 7 boys on the team or something. He was one of them. The wrestlers came over. Anyway, we know what happened over to Sparta High School when we did not take care of those tennis courts. Thank goodness we had the ones here at Meadowview. So we have a second on this already, but those are just my thoughts.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comments on this item? Hearing none, roll call.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Mr. McKenna.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent, and Mr. Hendricks. Item 4F, discussion and possible action to approve improvements to Meadowview's PA system. Ms. Hauser.
Thank you. So the PA system in this building is original, meaning it is approximately 23 years old. And we are having some performance and reliability issues, including with coverage areas and volume and even the ability to do some different programming and things like that. And so this has been on our long range plan for quite some time. And we believe, due to the importance of a PA system in building safety and security, that it is time to adjust the system. We did attempt to get 3 different quotes. We received 1 quote from Banco, which Banco installed the Herman PA system and last year redid the high school PA system. We also have worked with them to update all of the other PA systems in our district. And so there would be a great deal of benefit from having the same service provider district-wide. Additionally, they were the cheapest. Sound and media solution came in nearly double the price. And then CEC, we had an appointment with them to do a walkthrough and they were a no-show. So we do not have a quote from them. If there are any specific questions regarding the PA system, Mr. Stearman is here and has been involved and can help with that as well.
Any questions or comments from board members on this item?
I think the note for the additional year warranty is new since the committee meeting. Is that correct?
Yep, that was a question that came up at the committee meeting because we're reusing the wiring and there was question about what assurances we had with reusing that wiring.
Do you see value in that?
Mr. Stearman, if you could come, to a microphone, that'd be great. Thank you.
So the extra $1,000 for the Banco quote does not cover the existing building wiring. It covers the new speakers that they're installing and the new head end that they're installing. So the existing wiring would not be covered. That being said, it's low voltage wiring. It's not network cabling and it's not high voltage power cabling so much as you wouldn't necessarily after 20 years replace every piece of electrical wiring in a building. This wiring should be good as well for at least another 20 years. So that's kind of where we were coming from on the sound and media quote included replacing all the wiring for all the speakers in the building. So that's primarily the biggest difference in cost between the quotes is reusing versus not reusing. And then as far as the warranty goes for Herman or for Meadowview, it would come with 1 year. So we would have the choice to extend that for an extra $1,000 and we can make that decision next year. It doesn't have to be done today.
Further questions or comments from board members? For me, this is a safety hazard. So I feel like it's necessary to get this taken care of. And so with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the improvements to the Meadowview PA system and as recommended. Are we adding the warranty? That's the question. Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Mr. McKenna. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second from Mr. Wells. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. McKenna.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent, Mr. Hendricks. Item 4G, discussion and possible action to approve grants or donations.
Yes, we have one action item for you on this. The Sparta Gridiron Booster Club for $100,000 for Memorial Field in the scoreboard contribution. This was part of our agreement as we moved forward with that agreement there. So we're very happy that for this donation.
Thank you so much to the Sparta Gridiron Boosters. And with that, I would entertain a motion to approve that grant.
So move.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
That's me.
Mr. Burns Gilbert. Do I have a second?
Second that.
A second from Mrs. Lopez. Any further discussion on this item? What's that? No, don't. Yeah, roll call.
Yes.
Mr. McKenna,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, absent. Thank you again to the Sparta Gridiron Boosters, Mr. Russ.
And for your information, I want to thank the 4 donors for additionally giving some donations. Box Top for Education, First Sergeant Ricky Merritt and Kimberly Merritt, Box Tops for Education again, and Trinity Lutheran Church for their donations to the district.
And thanks so much from the Board of Education for all of those donations. Mr. Russ, item 4H, announcements and information.
All right, a lot of excitement going on in the district. We got field trips, we have graduations, we have all sorts of stuff. So last week we had a Sales and High Point graduation. Both of them were very well attended and great ceremonies. I'd like to thank Dr. Burnett for her leadership on those 2 charter schools, along with all the staff. They're a small knit staff. The students are very tightly knit as well, but very great celebration. Those 2. Sparta High School's graduation is on Friday at Memorial Field. The weather is looking great for 7 o'clock. And we don't even need our fingers crossed because there's 0%, Mr. Ford, correct? There we go. So, and if you're interested, we're looking to put the construction of the first graduation stage and chairs on Memorial Field. We're looking to live stream that on Thursday as well. So you can see construction as we go, looking at 8 o'clock. We're trying our best to do this 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So you can see the construction, and maybe we'll fast forward and do everything that everyone else does with those fancy construction things. So anyway, very excited about that, but a lot of field trips, and I know the kids are very excited for the school year to be done. I know the staff are, but it's also an important time for our kids where it gets a little bit more difficult because they're not going to be seeing the trusted adults. We're a district of poverty. So our kids get that love and that care, both the basic needs and that extra, along with that academic journey that we're taking them on. So very exciting end of the year, but it's also a scary time for some as well. Some board agenda meetings, goal and objective workshops, June 6th, LMC. We had a great discussion, I thought, last week. And then we have the committee of the whole and full board meetings on your screen.
Thank you for that, Mr. Russ. All right, item 4I. Discussion and possible action to move to closed session pursuant to 19.85, parent 1, parent C, parent E, parent F, for the purpose of 1, considering employment compensation of administrators, classified staff, and middle management staff, and 2, employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion for Mrs. Lopez. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Burns Gilbert. Roll call.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Behrens,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Burns Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Mr. McKenna.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0, 1 absent with Mr. Hendricks. We are in closed session.
For everybody out there, we will be going into closed session, and the video recording will end. However, if you want to stick around, I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I will come back out. We will come back out here because we are in open session, and we're going to reconvene out here because we do have some items potentially to act on afterwards as well. So you're welcome to stick around. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we're going to be back here after closed session.